What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in for another video. Had a customer drop us off another Yamaha. Had a little engine trouble with it, so we're gonna get into what we got and what we're gonna do. So it looks like we have between a 95 and a 97 Yamaha G14, I think is what it is. It's obviously gas, and yes, I have already pulled this engine out. It was puking oil terribly, so wanted to get it out so I could get all this mess cleaned up. We are going to tear into this engine here because, as you can see, it's got some really nasty buildup. And actually, when it was running, I caught it, and you can actually see right there where that is cleaned off. That is because the oil was basically shoving itself out of here due to the side cover or crankcase gasket failing here. And also it's smoking really bad, so I expect we also got either some bad valve seals or we got some pretty nasty blow by on the piston. And the customer decided that he just wanted to have it refreshed no matter what. So that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to get in here and basically get this engine tore apart, and you'll be able to watch me do that whole thing. Alright, so you see we got the clutch off. 6 little Phillips head screws. Got to pull out from the cover. And you're going to pull your main clutch bolt out. You will need a puller to stick into the clutch, as this is a tapered crankshaft. It's held on by pressure. So you get your clutch puller, hit it with your air impact till it pops. It'll pop off, and then you got the clutch out of your way. So what I shoot for next is to get all our plastics that's covering up our head, and then that just comes right out the way. Next, I'm going to go and get this fan shroud off of here so I can get all of it cleaned up good as I go along with it. It's got a couple bolts there, one there, 10 mil there, one there on the bottom. Alright, everybody, there you go. You got the side cover off now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10 millimeter bolts holding that side cover on. See, we got our fan popped off there. Now we can get this whole space cleaned up. I can replace this seal that's here. And now we're gonna get the head off of this thing. Since we already got the valves, rocker arms off, we're gonna go and pull the head. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. Your carburetor spacer right here, the intake spacer, you got to get that out of the way to be able to get to this last head bolt. It's got two Phillips head screws in it. With that was this job here. All right. There you go. There's your head off. Alright, guys, I'm gonna take this thing over to where I drain the oil out. Alright, so we got the oil drained. Now we got to get the side cover bolts off. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bolts here. It's got to come off. The 2 here that hold the starter gen adjustment bracket do not need to come off. They do not hold the side cover to the engine block. Also, you need to make reference on the piston to this arrow right here. Okay, that arrow needs to be pointing the exact same way when you go back in with this piston, because we are pulling the piston on this one, and if you're having a problem with compression or smoking really bad, this is probably what your issue is the rings. Alright, so you can actually still see where the gasket is broken there. It's actually come apart all the way across to this corner, so it's probably puking oil right here as well, and I just couldn't see that. because it was so... Nope, I'm sorry, that's exactly where... No. Alright, right. So right here is where the... Because you can see where it's right there on the side cover where it's cleaned off. That's where it was actually forcing the oil to come out. But it also looks like it was trying to slip out in from behind all this area too. So, kind of a good thing. Alright guys, so we're going to talk about the timing on this thing real quick before we disassemble this the rest of the way. So this is your camshaft, okay? This is going to be your crankshaft, obviously, and then this is your counterbalance. So each one of these gears has a hole for identification on where they line back up. So there's a hole here on the cam gear, a really tiny indent on the cam gear, or on the crankshaft gear, sorry, and then you have a really small indent right here on the crankshaft gear, and then you have two actual indents on the balance. All you do is line each one of these indents up to the corresponding places on the gears. So of course your cam gear, you're going to line up with this front gear of the crankshaft dot. You just aim those dots at one another. And then you do the same thing with the counterbalance to crankshaft gears. You just aim those dots at one another. There's your camshaft and cam gear, along with our push rod tappets. Got to get the piston and rod out now, and it's going to be 12mm bolts on the bottom of the rod for the rod cap bolts. You also want to make note of your oiling slinger, on which direction it comes off of the bottom of the rod cap. And so how I got it in my hand, this turn right here is facing towards the fan side of the motor. So we'll remember that, because we need to lay it down for a moment to get the piston out. Okay, we're going to put all this right back together just like it came out of the motor. This will help you keep from having to remember, because you've already got this set up just the way you pulled it out. Alright, there we go. See, now I have that just back in the same as it was inside the engine. And so now when I go to re-ring this, put some new rings on this thing, and go to slide it back in, I have my arrow pointed in the right direction, and you can even see the oil built up on the outside of this piston right here. That just goes to show the blow-by that was happening. But as I was saying, we got the arrow oriented just the way it came out. We also have the slinger oriented just the way it came out, and also the rod cap back to the exact same way it was torqued down to the piston rod while it was in there. So now we can finish getting the rest of this stuff out. So we're going to pull the crank and the gear out, and the balance. So you will have to rotate this to make sure that your weight slides by the crankshaft, or it's not going to come out properly. And there we have our crankshaft. Connecting surface looks great. We don't have to do a whole lot with that at all. And now we will take and pull our crankshaft seal on the fan side out, and then we will take this outside and soak it down with some degreaser, and then let the pressure washer do its job. So hopefully this will help anybody that's out there trying to understand how to disassemble one of these engines. It's pretty straightforward. It's not hard at all. Really the hardest thing is just trying to maintain where the parts go and how this engine is timed up, and get it cleaned up good, and do what you got to do to get it back in your cart. Alright guys, so I want to make you a note on the head of this G14 so that way it's not confusing when you go to do this. The fact that the G14 has a valve seal only on the intake side. You can see right here there's no valve seal on the exhaust side. I literally just pulled these valves out, and this is common for this particular engine, and there is no need to put a seal here, which you can. It has been done. In most cases you do not need to put that exhaust valve seal back on right there, or at all on, because it does not come with a seal on it. Alright guys, got this thing all cleaned up, ready to start going back together. Got all my stuff here ready to go. At this point I'm going to just go on and do some things that'll prep for the other small parts going in, like getting the cylinder honed, and getting our gaskets cleaned off of our side covers, getting all our sealing surfaces back true again. Alright, so what you see me do there, I also did here. So we'll have two nice matching surfaces now when we put the head gasket back on. And then we'll also clean up this sealing surface here, get that nice and clean again. We'll do the same thing on the side cover. The other thing about the older Yamaha engines like that is your oil slinger. You need to make sure that you orientate that as well in the same direction as it came off, which mine was on with this little drop facing towards the fan of the engine. So that's where we're going to put it back on. Once you get your front side of the piston cap, your oil slinger, and then the nut on, you're going to want to rotate this a little bit so you can reach this backside rod cap bolt to get your other nut on. So you're going to rotate it however far you need it. Snug those nuts up on the piston bolt, on the piston rod cap bolts. Just getting them prepared for the torque sequence is all. Alright, now we can put our tappets back in, which are these things right here that the camshaft, the load pushes on this end pushes on the push rod pushes the rocker arm pushes the valve. Now remember the big dot here on the cam gear, and see there's your cam lobes. And when I aim that dot at the dot that's on the crankshaft here, you want to line those up together. See your big dot lined up with that little dot, and then you got your two dots here. They're lined up with the space on the crankshaft back gear, and so basically they're going to be pointed like this. And also a little small tip is, when you're tearing this down, if you get this side cover off, you can either take a picture with your phone of where those dots are at that, once you come bring it to top dead center, or you can take like a whiteout pen and just mark across all of it. You could take a punch and make a specific notch here that lines up with these guys. And this one is pretty much self-explanatory on this side right here. You just line those two dots up together and you're good to go. And get our pusher rods put back in. We just simply Drop right in there, just like that for now. Get our rocker arms put back in at this point. So these are directional. You're not going to be able to put them like this. They go like that inside. So that's what we're after. Alright, there you go. And back in, sitting on the push rod. And at this point we're going to put the fan on. Fan shroud back in place. You really don't need to do anything but kind of watch your little compression ring right here on your screw, just getting it compressed and locked in. That's all you need. Don't put any more on it or it will break. So let's finish this thing up. All we got to do is put the backside cover on now, put all the bolts back in it, get our valves adjusted, all that good little jazz. Alright, so the last part is to put your breather tube back in the proper place. And so it has some grooves in the covers that the metal pipe will lay in, and then you just put your 10 mils back in the top on this end here, and then you're also going to put that last bolt there in the bottom of the cover. Alright, now we're going to come to the home stretch, throwing our clutch on. Alright, so when you put the cover back on this thing, it's got a little notch in it right here. Alright, the clutch itself has got a Zerk fitting right here. So you're going to take that notch and mate it up to that Zerk fitting area. Just getting all of them started first. Okay, so when you're on top dead center, both valves are going to be closed. That's another key thing at getting your valves adjusted properly, is to make sure that once you get it on the compression stroke, you start feeling the compression come like into your thumb or something. That's what I do, is I put my thumb over it. When I start feeling the compression push on my thumb, I'll take my thumb off, I'll grab a flashlight, and I'll watch that piston come all the way up, and then I'll move it just ever so slightly back and forth to find that top dead center. It's very minimal movement, but you just get that as close as possible on the top dead center there, and both of these valves will be closed, and that's what you want when you go to adjust. You can hear there my exhaust valve is just a stitch loose, and my intake valve is just a stitch tight. So that'll be alright. We're going to get that adjusted out real quick, and then we'll get our valve cover put back on. You're going to want to take and get your intake spacer on at that point, because you cannot get the gasket back in behind the plastic after you get it on. As you can see, I still have this loose for that purpose. Take a 5mm Allen wrench. That's on those valve cover bolts. Now I got them all snug, I'm going to work this in an X pattern just a few times, just to make sure everything's good and tight and even. Alright guys, so there you have the rebuilt G8, G9, and G14 engine. I do believe those are the models that this engine was put in. And now it needs a spark plug and some oil, and put it back in your golf cart and ready to ride again. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this video will help you out. If you have any questions during any time that you're trying to do this rebuild, you can just reach out and give us a call, comment on the channel. Speaking of the channel, make sure you look down in the corner. You'll see the QR code that comes up on the screen. It takes you directly to our website so that you can get any of the parts that you see me using to fix any of these golf carts. Alright, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and guys, please subscribe. A lot of you are watching and not subscribing, which is cool, but if you subscribe, you can just check out all the videos that we do that particularly pertain to your golf cart. Plus it helps us out continuing to make these videos. Again, always thank you guys so much for watching the videos for us. God bless you all.